Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DiJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution podcast with John DiJulius. This week, John talks with Frank Favaro, a passionate customer experience coach with over 20 years of leadership experience. Frank discovered that regardless of sector, prioritizing the customer experience was the successful formula for triple-digit growth, happiness, increased profits, and making price irrelevant. Giving more had a tremendous impact on the companies he worked with, and ultimately led him to start his own CX coaching business, helping other organizations. In this episode, you'll learn how Frank brought customer experience and relationship building into an industry that primarily focused on being the lowest bidder. What he did to help his business grow by over 600% in a few short years. What it means to burn the ship, and how leaving a well-paying job to start his own coaching business has brought him fulfillment. How businesses can transform the experience they deliver to both customers and employees. Now here's your host, John DiJulius.
Welcome, revolutionaries, to another episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I am John DiJulius, Chief Revolution Officer of the DiJulius Group, and I'm really excited about today's guest, Mr. Frank Favaro. Frank today is one of the top customer experience coaches in the world. It always hasn't been that way. Frank came from the mechanical construction service industry, which is not known for world-class hospitality, and really got his footing there with helping his brands and his clients become world-class and using that as their single biggest competitive advantage. And as you'll hear, Frank then took that to his own customer experience coaching business. He's helping companies all over in all different industries do the exact same thing. So I'm excited. Welcome, Frank. Great to have you.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So Frank, let's talk about that. Tell our listeners about your backstory, being in the mechanical construction industry or coming from it. I don't think people think of world-class customer service and you think of construction, general contractors, HVAC, plumbers. How did you connect great customer service, great customer experience in your previous careers?
Yeah, isn't that the truth? It's definitely not the industry known for providing great customer experiences. So, it was funny. It was 2013. I was with Bank of America, and I was part of their team up in Beechwood. There was Cleveland, Ohio. There was Beechwood call centers. They were the old Al Lerner MBA buildings. And I was employed by Bank of America, and I was part of their customer delight team. And I trained employees and oversaw the customer delight program. The customer delight program was built on really reestablishing the relationship with the customers after Bank of America's reputation was a little bit soured, taking bailout money. And we created what we call was customer delight. And it was, who is my customer? What am I doing, to resolve their inquiry? How do I add value in their lives? What am I doing to deepen their relationship? And as a result of all this, are they going to more likely or not going to do more business with us? So I was part of that program, coached that program. And it was, I tell you what, I loved it. I loved coaching people. And make a long story short, I got laid off. It was part of a mass layoff in 2013. And I needed to make a decision in life. What do I want to do? I could go work for another, company in that industry, but back then they were, jobs were getting shipped overseas in that industry. Who's to say it wouldn't happen with a competitor? So I took a leap of faith and jumped into an industry that I had absolutely zero experience in, which was the mechanical services construction industry. And I started selling industrial piping, valves, and fittings to mechanical contractors all over the Midwest. And I had zero experience. I knew nothing. I couldn't tell you the difference between copper or stainless steel, even at that time. Like I truly knew nothing about it. And I was tasked to, hey, go grow our business. So, that's what I did. And that's where I took those principles, though, of customer delight, and I utilized them to go out there and build those relationships with those contractors, earn their trust. And then obviously it all went from there.
Wow. So that's really cool. I didn't even know you had the banking experience first. So you went from credit cards and customer support, and that's really where you got turned on, I'm guessing, to that customer delight. And I know it fits with your personality and your way of life, just who you are. And is that where it kind of lit the flame?
It really did, because I didn't have the technical knowledge. I couldn't go in there and talk about product knowledge. I talked about, and I would tell these contractors up front, I don't know anything about this industry, but I know how to put out fires and I know how to take care of people. And that's my specialty. And I will give you the greatest experience by working with me. I will give you who, what, where, when, and why at all times. I used to call that Amazon method. And I will do that for you. So try me out. Give me an opportunity. Let me prove myself to you. And it just took off because no one in the industry was given that type of experience.
And it obviously worked out because you were a huge part of the reason why your company grew over 600% in just a little over a couple of years. I mean, that's crazy, 600%. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's an industry that is very price sensitive. And I'll leave you for, pennies on the dollar if I can get it cheaper somewhere else. Is that correct?
Well, that's the reputation. And that's what a lot of the people that are in the industry believe, that they're hardwired to believe it's all about price because they've been burned before, but they still have never really been able to look at it from a different perspective and a different lens. And that's what I love doing today, is really getting them to kind of switch that paradigm and the light bulb goes off. But yeah, so I was in that industry and then I got hired, so I was working for a distributor at the time. And then I got hired by the contractor because the contractor said, wow, we love how you serve us.
So the contractor was your client, was one of your customers, correct?
Yeah. So
and
that's
you blew them away that they said, screw it, we want you to do this for us.
Yeah, they said, we want you to come do this for us. We want to expand our service business, which is emergency services. So if your HVAC goes out in your company, who do you call? So it's, emergency services. We want to grow our emergency service business. And I was the first person they thought about because they loved the service experience they received with me, working with me. So they hired me. And that's when we went and grew that business 600% from the day I stepped in foot to the day I left to start my own business with customer experience. So, yeah. But exciting times. And I love sharing those stories because it isn't about price. Price is irrelevant, right? So it's not, it's the experience. And I'm so passionate about, sharing that in my story because I lived it firsthand. I saw it, no industry knowledge, no technical skill, drop me almost like undercover billionaire, put a guy in a new town with no contacts, no money, and no customers, and see if he can grow the business. And that's what I did.
I love that because, so many businesses in all industries are just worried about getting, the smartest expert they can and think that's the point of difference. But in every industry, there's a lot of smart accountants out there. There's a lot of smart lawyers. There's a lot of smart coaches, right? There's a lot of smart salespeople in all areas, but that's not the differentiator. And you proved that. You didn't know a valve, a fitting, a copper from anything else, but
right.
The relationships you built, and then you went and figured it all out. You were able to learn the technical side, but it's really hard to teach that relationship building side.
That was where I was really struggling because, I got to the point where I was earning 3 and 4 times more than I had ever earned prior, doing most people, what they dream about earning, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy doing that. Like, I was happy with my customers because it was the relationships, and I loved being with the people that I worked with, that I served, but I couldn't stand talking about the product. I'm not a mechanical guy. You know what I mean? So I love the people, did not love the product, talking about plumbing, talking about HVAC, because it wasn't my passion. The people were my passion. And that's why it was just a unique opportunity when it all came about.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So 2016, 17, 18, 19, you're crushing it, making more money you've ever made, which means you've probably adjusted your lifestyle to that, right? I mean, if we make 50,000, we'll spend 51. If we make, 200,000, we'll, adjust our lifestyle to 201,000. So you're successful by all accounts. Your clients love you. So you kind of answered it. I was going to ask you, why do anything different now? But you said it. It wasn't getting you out of bed in the morning. And the way I think about it is, what are they going to put in my tombstone? Back in my previous career, this is the late 80s, early 90s. I was driving a truck for UPS, which for me was insane money, more money than I was able to make with my degree at the time. But, every day I drove to work and said, in 29 more years, 3 months and 2 days, I could retire. And, that was 29 years to go as fast as they could, because it's not what I wanted to do. It's not, what were they going to put on my tombstone? He delivered packages on time, quickly, undamaged, right? So kind of sounds like the same thing, no?
Yeah, it's so true. And you get around the guys and you see what could be your future. And yeah, they're on a countdown to get it over with. I'm on a countdown. I was like, I want to live, I want to experience, I want to have a great life and help other people have a great life too. And I was just unfulfilled. One of my favorite quotes is, an unfulfilled vocation drains the color from a man's entire existence. And it's so true. And that's what I was feeling. And, people couldn't understand that. Like my parents, my mom, who was counting down those days to retirement. And I love my mom, but that's just a different mindset. It doesn't really matter if you're not happy. And, I was on search for more. I thought, if I can help people in HVAC and plumbing where I have no passion, imagine what I could do where my passion lies. And that's what really got me going. That's how I was able to do it, and to have the courage to do it. Imagine what I could do where my passion really lies. I was on a mission. I had to figure it out and do something.
And so that's where our paths merged. So in 2020, when the pandemic hit for the entire world, the DiJulius group, we got paused. Our consulting and on-site presentations and keynotes and all that either got paused, turned to virtual, or canceled. And we had a great deal of time on our hands. And we had finally had the fortune to focus on something that we always wanted to create. And we had been talking about it. And it was always we're going to do it next year. But we wanted to create a new brand called CX Coaching, which stands for Customer Experience Coaching, where we can license coaches to be their own business, their own entrepreneurs, and they could take the DiJulius Group's methodology and go out there and do it for, on their own for medium size and small businesses that the DiJulius Group typically can't work with. So we focused on that all of 2020, and we launched the brand January 1st of 2021. You were in our inaugural class. So became one of our first customer experience coaches, and to date, just so successful. But tell people what that, because we joke, Frank burned his ships, right? Frank didn't dabble. He didn't say, I'm making a really good living, so let me try this on the side, evenings, weekends. If I can get it off the ground, I can quit this good paying job and do something, I know I'll love, which would have been the logical. It would have been the advice I'd probably give my kids or anyone. But that's how you did, Frank. Tell our listeners what you did.
Yeah, I had advice from customers like that were friends that said, Frank, no, this is not the way to go about it. You need to moonlight, work on the company's dime that you're working for, and try to get a few clients before you leave. But you know what, John? I mean, I just believe in integrity and doing the right thing, and I just didn't feel like it was right for me to, still be two places at one time, meaning, working for the company that gave me the opportunities, treated me so well. It's Smith & Obie, great people. And I just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. So I felt I needed to resign and I needed to start my career with 0 customers. And that's what I did. And I challenged myself. And I'm going to admit it was a lot harder at first than I expected it to be. I thought I would gain, just based off of my reputation in the industry and the connections and contacts that I built, that I would just, with the snap of a finger, have 4 or 5 clients. And it didn't work that way. I had to rebuild, rebrand, and really show people that I could do this and help them and add value in their lives. But that's what I did. And every single day, continue to work at it, and whatever it took to get opportunities to show what I do and how I do it. And the thing about it is once people see it, it's just like, wow. I have over 100 surveys now on sessions that and the common theme is eye-opening. We're looking at things at a completely different lens. Like we never thought about these things in our business before, right? Because businesses today, they get so into the weeds. They're not thinking about they're so focused, in the business that they forget to work on the business and see things through the lens of the customer. So, but that's what I did. And I burnt the ship, so to speak, like you said. And, I just didn't feel it was the right thing to do to, collect a paycheck from the other company while I was trying to grow a business on the side. I think what goes around comes around. I believe in karma, and I believe that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I needed to do it the right way. And to me, that was the right way.
And I'm sure with it being the right thing from an integrity standpoint, it also, didn't give you an option to fail, right? I mean, this was it. And you were in it 24/7. And I got to see firsthand not only what you learned from the CX coach camp and how you just dove into the methodology and learned it and was able to regurgitate it and apply it, but you just went out and found people, in different coaching industries and, soaked up everything you could from them. And, you could just see your learning curve. And then, finally, it what seems like overnight to the outsider, I know it wasn't overnight to you, 4 or 5 months in, all of a sudden, you just started the momentum and just building a clientele and people hiring you and you coming in and referring you. And it's just so incredible to see. And now we have, so many of our newer coaches they've come on board the past 12 months, they get sick of hearing about Frank. But I mean, you've done it and it didn't come easy, but man, and the impact you're having. And I get to see the results, the surveys, and what your the companies you're working with, what they're saying about the impact that you have. So what is, what do you do have several, you got this, you have the banking industry, you have, the construction, mechanical industry. What is it that you see that it really doesn't matter what industry you're in? Companies, regardless of their industries or model, whether it's B2C or B2B, there is certain intangibles they need to grow an exponential growth. What is it that you see?
I see that we are in the business of people first and foremost. It's, I think that some, people get so focused in focusing on the technical of every single industry. It really doesn't matter. And they forget to focus that we are human beings. We are highly emotional people, and we make buying decisions based off of emotion. And it's how people make us feel. If you can make me feel really good about something, chances are I'm coming back. And that doesn't matter the industry. It's really not that complex. We make it really complex and by overthinking things. But we're in the business of people first and foremost. And we have our logical brain and we have our emotional brain. And that emotional brain is going to make, it's 24 times, the studies show 24 times more powerful when it comes to making a buying decision. So if we can create that great experience, and that's what customer experience is to me, it's providing that emotional connection. It's connecting those dots. It's wow, like they really made me feel good about this. That's to me, it doesn't matter the industry. I've worked in 4 different industries. Fitness, when I was out of college, I spent my entire 20s in a fitness industry. It's where I met my wife. Fitness, financial, medical, construction, 4 completely different industries. But at the end of the day, it's all about people. We're in the business of people. And people buy what we're selling based off of how we make them feel. So I think we overcomplicate it. It's not, but most people don't think it's that easy. Most businesses don't, that couldn't be the answer. Could it? But it is. So that's my thoughts on that.
Well, and Frank, you're very good at helping. You got 2 types of leaders coming to you. One that know that there's something wrong and that they don't want to chase price, or they're not re-signing, retaining existing customers, and they got do so much advertising to replace them. Or same thing with employees that they can't out hire a bad culture. But then you also deal with leaders who don't see the value and just think it's warm and fuzzy and it's fluff. So I don't know, what are the pain points you look for from someone who is talking about what's keeping them up at night, or how do you help them realize that there's no better investment than the experience they deliver both internally and externally?
I think the challenge today is a lot of companies, especially in the mechanical services, construction industry, what they do is they're seeing record profits. This is the best, the last 2 years during the pandemic, that industry has really, really done well because it hasn't slowed down. And those companies out there, they're growing. So they don't typically see the challenges. They're not experiencing it. So what I have to do is really show them that, in a way that they're not where they think they are, and I do that through some discovery. I do that with ways where I will call in and secretly shop their companies and talk, and have conversations with frontline employees. And I'll share that information and really start to show them what it really is like to be their customer. But recently there's been so much work that every single business out there has really been profiting and doing well. It's in these economic restrictions that things are going to change. And it's the companies out there that are investing in that experience, because this is an opportunity. Customer experience is an investment opportunity to improve their people. It's really no different than any sport. It's the team that has the best players is going to win the game, right? So it's the same thing with employees. If you have a collection of A-level talent, chances are you're going to win. And it's just improving the skill of existing employees. And these things, the customer experience skills, these people skills, they're improvable. They're improvable skills. What we're not working on, what we're not practicing, what we're not doing every single day, it's our habits, right? If my goal is to lose 50 pounds and I change my diet and exercise routine and I accomplish my goal, what happens when I quit doing it? I go right back, right? So it's our habits every single day and making sure that we're sharpening the saw.
Well, and you bring up a good point, because the people who are benefiting, I say even a turkey can fly in a tornado, and for a lot of industries, that tornado is spinning well, but that tornado is going to stop. And while it's nice that this too shall not last forever, and some turkeys are going to be dropping. That's a harder sell, is when we're making double-digit growth. It's hard to realize that. It's kind of, you were a world-class wrestler, and this when maybe you're having an easy schedule and you're pinning everyone you wrestle. It's hard for a coach to tell you what your weaknesses are, because you haven't been exposed, because maybe the competition, or in the business case, the demand is higher than it normal.
So that's a great way of looking at it. Exactly. Yeah. And you start to think that you're better than you are, right? Because, well, this is the best I've ever been. So this is my best record I've ever had. And what happens though, when you get that next level, right? That's a good way of looking at it.
You're listening to the Customer Service Revolution podcast. You've probably read all of John's books, so you're obviously passionate about the customer experience. Have you ever considered a career as a customer experience coach? The DiJulius Group can train and license you in the same methodology that our consultants use. It's the same framework that's being used in companies like Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Nestle, and the Ritz-Carltons. Our Coach Camp gives you the tools to start your own business as a CX coach. If you're ready to invest in your future and build a business around your passion for the customer experience, contact Claudia at thedijuliusgroup.com or visit cxcoaching.com.
So, hopefully we could say coming out of the pandemic, whatever that looks like, what is like the number one request you get from your coaching clients? Is it more to do with the working on the employee experience or still the customer experience or both?
Well, like you always say, you can't be world-class to your customers until you're world-class to your employees. So, you have to have that internal culture, right? You have to have a culture that's attractive. And I can tell walking into a business for the first time on a discovery, I can tell right off the bat what the culture is at a company. You can tell. How do the employees interact? How do they greet you? How do they look at you? What's the energy like? What does it feel like? What does it look like, when you walk in? So, I can tell right off the bat what a culture is like, within the first few interactions at a company. But, what companies are out there today are looking for more than anything is they want to know where they're leaving money on the table, right? And they don't understand that losing customer dissatisfaction, not providing a great experience is their number one, it's their number one reason they're losing money, but it's not on the P&L. So it's not visible. So they're not seeing it. So you have to really show them with discovery, with customer experience, and put themselves in the customer's shoes. If you were the customer, how would you feel with this phone call? Would you call back again? How would you feel? Would you do business with yourself again? And that's how I really do it, and getting that aha moments, that light bulb to come on. But the biggest challenges out there today is a lot of employees think it's still all about price because that's what they have to sell on. That's what they feel as if they don't lower their price, they can't get business. And they just haven't been taught and coached on how to add more value. And adding more value is what, a customer experience is.
All right. So when you're working with companies, I believe you're working with leadership teams, you're going in with their leaders and you're doing workshops. What are some of the best ways you've seen to kind of have the experience epiphany where they start realizing it doesn't have to be about price and it can be about improving? What are some low-hanging fruit that you've seen that companies can adopt from your sessions and immediately start seeing an impact?
I love doing the sessions because, they're interactive and people really, love them because they're engaging. And I hear stories all the time of celebrating successes that come out of the sessions. It could be listening for 2 additional seconds without talking, right? And then the customer ends up saying giving more information that they would have never given previously because we're so hardwired to want to talk, right? So, just the example of listening skills, sharpening the listening skills has allowed to uncover more pain points for their customers, right? It could be putting a never and always, a customer service bill of rights together. And, it's really improving customer interactions. And there's been way less customer complaints and issues. Some of those, that's low hanging fruit. It could be negative cues, things that the customers can see, can feel, and can hear. And those are face-to-face, ear-to-ear, click-to-click. That's a lot of low-hanging fruit that we fix right off the bat.
Give us a specific example of a negative cue for our listeners, Frank. What could be a negative cue that our listeners may have and don't even realize it?
A negative cue could be something as simple as not making eye contact when we greet people, right? Not having an enthusiastic greeting or ear-to-ear smile. I mean, the most basic of the basic. But still, as of today, the things that are probably making the biggest impact in terms of making strong impressions with our customers. That's something that is so simple, but we're not thinking about because we're thinking about ourselves walking into an interaction. We're not thinking about how are we coming across to others. We only get a first, one great chance to make a great first impression, right? So, negative cues are hiding everywhere. It could be on a company's website. It could be employees' actions. It could be terminology where, I was just in a discovery session the other day, for example, where the employees love to speak with these big words that customers don't understand to really demonstrate how knowledgeable they are. The customer doesn't care about that, right? Customers, they want clarity. They want simple things that they understand. Confusion is the enemy of the buyer. So talking in these big words that the customers don't understand in terms of mechanical, how a compressor at 3,500 hertz does this, I mean, they have no clue what that means most of the time, the end users. They want to know, can you solve my problem? Can you make it right? Can I trust you? Are you easy to do business with? Do you have good communication? How do you respond? When there's fires, can I count on you to put them out? That's what they care about. But terminology is another example, though, talking in big words that customers don't understand. But negative cues are hiding everywhere. That's a half-day session alone, talking about negative cues.
I just went to a new dentist because my dentist retired, and I went and God, talk about negative cues. You walk in and there's all these signs and masks are mandatory. And listen, I don't have a problem with masks, but it's just the verbiage, mandatory, or you won't be permitted, no cell phone usage, must pay before your appointment. It's just all over. And, I haven't even spoken to anyone yet. And then I'll tell you about a real negative cue. It's hard, not putting yourself in the eyes of the customer. Literally, I'm sitting back, getting a cleaning, and I'm staring at the ceiling. And how many people who work in a business look up ever? They look at their instruments, they look at the floor, they look at their counter. But one of the tiles in the ceilings broke, and they had one of those lights with like the clear plastic below the light reset in the ceiling, and there's like a dead fly on the I'm staring at the whole time, right? And so it's all those little things that we don't think about, that our customers are seeing. Whether it's waiting on hold or going to the website and you can't find a contact number, or all these warnings about if you do this, or you can't do this. It's like, I don't want to do business with you.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? That had to be a horrible experience, just sitting there looking at that the entire time. Right.
So yeah, those negative cues are so huge. They're such a lightning rod of, oh my God, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and I see them. It's funny that what coaching every single day out there, you see more and more of them because the awareness of them is just completely heightened. I saw one the other day at the workout facility I go to. It said, "Stop peeing on the floor. Please flush the urinal." It is, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and they tape a homemade sign up, and then other people that start writing on it that are members, making jokes, and it's just a poor experience. So, but those negative cues, they hide everywhere. But once again, most of the companies out there are so involved and so in the weeds that they're not aware of those things. They're not thinking about them.
Yeah. And I would think how important, or how do you know if you have like the executive buy-in because on your meetings or discovery, because, we all know the top isn't behind it, nothing's going to change.
It's all about buy-in at the top, right? And you're never going to change anything unless you get the buy-in. It's not buy-in in terms of, no, I'm behind this, that I'm good, we're into it. But the buy-in at the top has to be actually practicing what you preach also. You can't say one thing and do another. And I think that's the biggest challenge out there today, at least with some of the companies I've talked to in the mechanical service industry, at the top, they hold themselves to a different standard. Let's almost do as I say, not as I do mentality. That's impacting the culture in the business. And it's a direct reflection of the culture, because hypocritical leadership is not in style. It's not what people want to be a part of.
So, Frank, as a coach, do you address that? That's a tight line to walk, right? Because they're the ones probably, agreeing to write you a check or commit to this. How do you coach that maybe the top isn't modeling the behavior we want our customer-facing employees to have?
The way I work is I don't coach them. They're not the right fit for me. You know what I mean? They're not the right fit. I believe I'm meant to serve a specific customer. I'm meant to serve them. So you're filtering your customers, Frank, because you don't want to put your name and reputation on something that you don't think will be successful. 100%. Do you know how many I've turned down more customers than I have customers because they're not the right fit, believe it or not. There's a lot of companies out there that I think would like to have the coaching, but they're not the right fit. And it's not about the money. It's the long term. It's about helping those, because I got to work with people that inspire me and energize me, not that take my energy away. And if they can't live it, then it's not going to work. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't need to be in that internal discord between, and I've done it one time now and I've learned my lesson in that situation. So I'm not doing that. And I do filter and I make sure I have my target market customer. They have to kind of fit my needs as someone I like, someone I want to do business with, someone that inspires me, I can learn from, someone that energizes me. That's who I want to work with. Somebody that walks the walk and talks the talk.
And is there a certain red flag, Frank, that if you're going to get on a call or come in and meet with the senior leader or CEO or president that will tell you that, I'm probably not your person for you?
Well, like I said, I do some discovery in advance. I take a look at things. I take a look at companies. I read reviews, and I'll make some phone calls and kind of test their people who answer the phones and just kind of see what the culture is like at the organization before I will engage with them. And if they're reaching out to me, I'm going to vet them. I'm going to talk to people I know. I know the industry very well. I've worked for the contractor in the industry, and I've worked for a distributor in the industry, and I know all the manufacturers and suppliers. So being so, I'm so into the fabric of the industry that I can kind of get the lay of the land on people when they reach out to me. You know what I mean? And Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to give people the opportunity. I'm still going to meet them, but I think it's really important for me to only work with right fit customers.
And what type of clients are you getting, Frank? Meaning I don't mean industry or size as much as are these clients who are their companies, are really bad at the experience they're delivering. They're average and they want to get better. They want to go from suck to average to great, or really good and paranoid that they're slipping? Are you getting all types, or is there one more than others that are reaching out and hiring you?
Believe it or not, it's the best companies that are in the industry are the ones I'm working with. It's the ones that believe that they can get to a next level, and there's always a next level. There's no such thing as good enough. They're the ones that they're interested in that experience, and they understand that without a customer, there's no business. So taking care of that customer at all costs and making sure that they exceed those expectations, that's where it's at. When I came into the industry, it's funny you asked that. I thought I'd be dealing with all these people that were low and wanted to improve to middle to average. It's the highest reputations in the industry for the most part, outside of one that it didn't work out for me that well. But for the most part, it's top level companies. It's companies that have the best reputations, they give to the communities. They're involved. They have a good culture, and they understand now that there's no such thing as good enough. And there's always a next level, because what got us here today, what got us to this point, is not going to get us to that next level, and they understand that.
Yeah, I mean, listen. There's a reason why Spirit Airlines is Spirit Airlines. They don't invest in customer experience, and it shows. But the other ones that do are like you said, are constantly paranoid. They know the value. They know the return on investment that they get from constantly improving their signature experience, and that it's less advertising because they have to, replace their existing clients less. And same thing with their employees. It's less turnover, happy employees, all those things. So, Frank, if a business is looking to get better, and we will have Frank's contact links to how to get in touch. Follow Frank on social media. He is just great. He posts every day on his social media channels, vlogs, inspirational vlogs, articles, quotes. We're gonna, some videos of Frank. But if a business is just even thinking about, where do they start? What's the first thing they should do? Because I'm sure this could be overwhelming and intimidating to someone who hasn't gone down this road.
Yeah, I think that the first step is always to take that first step and take a look at internal culture, because it all starts with creating that internal culture. And I think internal culture is a big buzzword right now. One of the great things that we do and through CX coaching that you've allowed us to is that CSAT. It's that MRI for the existing level of service that you provide. That's a great place to start the process and see where your company is today. And you can do that. And I imagine you could post that link.
Yeah, I'll put that in a link. It's a company service aptitude that there's no charge. You could take it and you immediately get your own results and see where you're at, like Frank said. And, if you want, Frank or any of our coaches could then have a complimentary call with you to discuss that. Yeah. So, going back to that, that might be the answer, Frank. How do you know if you need a coach and if a coach is right for you? And consulting, that's a different gamut. How do you explain the difference between coaching and consulting?
Yeah, I look at coaching as, I am here to come in and make an impact and coach your people and get you to the next level. I think consulting is a little bit more of holding your hand and being there every single step, being there every single day. You have a question for me to, don't get me wrong, I'm there to answer questions, but it's a completely different animal to consult versus to coach. I put in a very clear turnkey system in place and then help the businesses with next steps and where to go along that process and how many days out we need to do this and this, then we need to do this, and don't get me wrong, I'm available. I talk to my clients once every couple of weeks on average, but it's a 5-10 minute conversation, making sure that they have the tools they're needed and they're keeping up on track and they're rolling the tools out. And then we're, tracking their key performance indicators and the success of the project. And then we get back in the room together and do it again the next quarter. So, I think a consultant, there's way more, holding of the hand through the process. And you'd be more inclined to speak on the DiJulius group and the consulting you guys do. But, I think that's the difference of a coach versus a consultant. And I think everybody out there, I think every business needs a coach. I watched Bill Gates talk about every business out there today needs a coach. Every world-class athlete, regardless of the sport, needs a coach. And customer service and customer experience, these are things we're not taught. We're not taught service aptitude. No one taught me when I was in elementary school service aptitude and people skills. No one's teaching my kids that are 8 years and under, but the same thing. It's not being learned in middle school. It's not being learned in high school. It's not being learned in college. It's not being learned in the trades and the apprenticeships and the industry that I'm in. These skills are not being taught. So every single business out there needs a coach. I have a social media coach. I have coaches I work with. I think every person that's inspiring to be great has coaches.
No, and you're absolutely right, Frank. That's what I've seen you do so well with your clients is, you're helping them, you're holding them accountable, but you're making it, them doing it and that they don't need you forever, that you're helping them create the systems that they can be successful long after that coach is gone until the next time he or she comes back in, or someday, they can graduate from it. And that's really what I like, what you do so well, and a lot of our coaches do. So you're crushing it. I'm speaking to Frank Favaro, a licensed customer experience coach who is just one of our top coaches. And we have coaches all over the world, literally. And Frank is just our role model as far as how he's grown his business, how he's just built a loyal coaching business. And, Frank, we always wanted to be one of the best decisions our coaches has made. But I got to tell you, getting you and having you be a CX coach was one of the best decisions we've ever made. So I can't thank you enough.
Well, John, it's the DiJulius group has anything I've ever requested or asked for has been given to me on the spot. I mean, you guys, the support and the level of support, and not just by you, but the entire, every single person I work with at your company is phenomenal. So, it's becoming a CX coach was the most challenging, but also the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And I've done a lot and I've accomplished a lot in my life.
Yeah.
But this was the most challenging, but the most rewarding. And I get so excited to wake up every single day and do what I do and to live out my passion. And it's just very thankful to be able to go out and do it. And I thank you for introducing me.
And that's why I was asking, man, just answer, what is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job is, I get really, animated, kind of like you, but yeah, I get into it. And the biggest part, my favorite part of my job is, and I've had this happen, it's the people I coach, and they'll reach out to me and be like, this has helped me in other parts of my life, not just work. This has helped me, at my home with my kids. Like, I've become a better listener. I'm show more empathy, right? I'm able to, just the never and always, the tools that we create, people live them in all parts of their lives. And it's, and it's not something that they just do at work. It permeates into their personal lives. And to me, I think that's the most satisfying thing. I know that I am making an impact in people's lives. So there's no fear, to go out there every day and do it. It's the best thing I've ever done. So it's awesome. And, for anyone out there who wants to be a coach and is thinking about becoming a coach, I'm looking for coaches also. So, this is something with my business because I'm only one person. I can only coach so many companies, right? So I'm getting to that point now where I'm going to need coaches also. And I think it's something that I would like to talk to coaches and mentor some coaches also underneath me as I continue to grow. So, but anyone out there that's looking to do it, it's the best decision I've ever made.
That's awesome, Frank. And what a great problem to have is that you're getting too busy and you need people to help.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Well, I hopefully our attendees could feel your passion when you see Frank and you get to, be in his presence. It's definitely a vibe that is contagious, and you can't help to just, start feeling that same way. Frank, I want to thank you for a great interview and sharing your journey, your customer experience journey, your customer experience coaching journey, the trials, the tribulations, the hard points, the low points, and obviously the high points. We really appreciate you and what you're doing. And I can't wait to have you back in future episodes to just talk about the more impact that you continue to make. And like you said, not only the companies, but, where it transcends to their employees and employees' personal lives and the customers in the community. So thank you so much, Frank.
My pleasure, John. Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank all you revolutionaries for another episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening in to this episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I'm Denise Thompson, managing partner of the DiJulius Group, and I invite you to send us your questions, post a review, and let us know what you liked and want to hear more of. We're happy that you're part of the customer service revolution and encourage you to subscribe now so you don't miss an episode. You'll find us on Spotify, iTunes, or your favorite podcast station.